JT McFarland's on the line right now, Fox News national security analyst. And you live in the New York area. Are you a Giants fan?
Oh, boy, I've learned long ago you never answer that question. You like them all.
See, she is a politician.
Well, you're welcome to come down and join us for beer and wings and food as well. Come on down. Listen, KT, there is so much to talk to you about. There have been overnight airstrikes. There were big strikes yesterday. I have a lot of questions. Let me start out with the first one. We went after this group called the Khorasan Group inside Syria. We were told that there was an imminent threat and that we needed to take action against them. That was widely reported yesterday, and it comes from White House sources. But if there was an imminent threat, and look, if we knocked out an imminent threat, okay, that's great, that's wonderful. But if it was an imminent threat, why was it on 9/11 when we asked, is there anything imminent? They said, no, there's nothing imminent.
Well, that's a really good question. And as long as you and I are not reading the classified documents, we have no answer to that.
So you think that really is the beginning and end of it? Is classified, therefore
we have no way of judging whether they're using this for political gain, whether they're using this to justify something, whether they were asleep at the wheel. It's hard to know.
It sort of stuck out at me, and then later.
I mean, it's a good point, but I don't think
I
you can
saw a
answer the
CNN
question.
report that said, "Oh, look, it wasn't really imminent, and like it wasn't going to happen in a week or so." So, what is imminent?
Again, without reading the classified documents, it's hard.
Well, what would you consider imminent?
I would consider imminent. We know a bunch of guys are planning to do something, and here's where we think it's going to happen, and here's when we think it's going to happen, the time range, and let's go get the guys.
Okay. And also, what do we know about this Khorasan group? They're that came. We'd heard a little bit about them, but now we apparently are hearing from some sources this may be a greater threat than ISIS.
Look, it seems like every 2 weeks there's this sort of jihadi group of the month. You know, it's like flavor of jihadism, radicalism. Each one's worse than the last. We should just be prepared for the fact that we are now, I think, there will be a generation of fighting in the Middle East. It'll be Sunni versus Shiite. It'll be this tribe versus that tribe. It'll be radical versus other kind of radical. It'll not respect national boundaries, and it will come to the United States. Anybody who thinks they can get here from there to cause havoc will, and anyone already here, American citizens or not, who decides to become radicalized for whatever reason as a lone wolf can do things here. And so I have long been an advocate of drop the political correctness and start paying attention to defending the homeland, because there's the idea of, okay, we're going to do ISIS, but that's over there.
Yeah.
What are we doing over here? What are we doing to control our southern border? What are we doing to make sure that returning fighters from the region, Americans have gone there to fight, we don't know that they've gone there to fight, they come back, how are we going to find them? There's a lot of technology that's been developed really in the last 2 years. It's the data mining technology where they take disparate bits of information, put them together, and can come up and really predict, okay, there's going to be a terrorist attack here. This other guy's likely to be a terrorist given what he's done. He has these certain behavior patterns. And I think we should employ it to the fullest extent, because this problem is not going to go away. It's only going to get worse.
KT, speaking of political correctness, the president headed up to New York there as all of the world's leaders are meeting in that Star Wars cantina scene known as the United Nations. And after giving his 3-minute perfunctory remarks about airstrikes in Syria that, of course, continued last night, so we're now on our second day of airstrikes in Syria against Islamic terrorists, he then turned to the UN and said,
for all the immediate challenges that we gathered to address this week, terrorism, instability, inequality, disease, there's one issue that will define the contours of this century more dramatically than any other, and that is the urgent and growing threat of a changing climate.
So that's the president's priority, and that's what he's telling the world. So how, seriously are they taking his calls to join him against terrorists when he's saying himself that the most important threat is climate change?
Well, I'm not sure anybody's taking him that seriously anymore at all. But, the climate change thing is everybody's get-out-of-jail-free card. Whenever there's a problem that you've screwed up or you can't solve, you say, climate change. Well, who's in favor of climate change? Nobody.
Well,
So
people who live in cold areas, I think, don't mind it.
Or if you're 2 blocks from the ocean and you want oceanfront property. Look, I just think it's a way of avoiding every problem that you're facing immediately is you say, well, eventually climate change, and that's the big issue.
But KT, you compare it to David Cameron, Prime Minister of the UK. He was on NBC News. Listen to him.
So this is a fight you cannot opt out of. These people want to kill us. They have got us in their sights, and we have to put together this coalition, working with, right across the board, all those countries I mentioned, to make sure that we ultimately destroy this evil organization.
I'm trying to contrast the leadership
That's
here,
what you want.
the rhetoric.
Or Tony Abbott of Australia, who rounded up guys who they thought were imminent threats to Australia. Who's the adult in the room? I think that the problem of the president's leadership, although I must say I congratulate him for what he did with these U.S. allied airstrikes against ISIS. Other than that, it's been a throwaway. Last week at an interminable fundraiser, the president was asked about Ukraine and Russia, and he said, we don't do that much with trade with Ukraine. It's not that important to us. And with that blithe throwaway comment that he probably didn't even realize what he was saying. But what he was saying is that the entire American post-war period, where Republicans and Democrats, Congress and the executive branch and the judiciary in the United States, along with all of our allies, have stood up to communism. Our goal has been to defeat communism. Our goal has been to take the shackles off of millions, hundreds of millions of people, and we have done it. And what President Obama said, hey, it doesn't matter. Hey, man, it's cool. Putin, you want it? You get it. No problem. And just sort of tossing away this hard-fought, with blood and treasure, inheritance America had. And it was just tossed away with a throwaway line. That the tragedy is he didn't even realize he was doing.
Yeah, sort of like that toss-away salute we saw.
I don't think he understood the insult he was giving. I don't think it matters to him.
Okay. Well, listen, KC, thank you so much for joining us. It is always a pleasure.
And, Larry, I'll see you in New York next time on Fox News.
Oh, thanks, KT. I look forward to it.
Bye.